what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
Bones, I don't want to be lectured.
Very, very many happy reasons.
And time for celebrity birthdays on Wednesday morning. And incidentally, if you're celebrating your birthday today, happy birthday. And you share your birthday with these famous people. They include actor James Avery is 65. TV host Bill Nye, you know, the science guy, he is 58. Ambassador Caroline Kennedy is 56. And so what else we have for here? Simple Minds musician Charlie Burchill is 54 today. And also on the list includes actress Robin Givens is 49. You know, the former wife of Mike Tyson. And those are some of the celebrity birthdays for today. And the thought for today, incidentally, man's loneliness is but his fear of life. That was from Eugene O'Neill, American playwright, who died on this date in 1953. Now, let's get ready to go back in time, shall we? And have room for one passenger in the time machine. And let's see here. Let me look around here and see what we got. Yeah, you look like you're up to a little time traveling. So, yeah, come on, step forward. Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car. All right. Sound like I'm talking to Gunther again. Anyway, our first stop is November 27th, 1965. So go ahead and close the door. I'll turn on the time circuits and start the engine. And November 27th, 1965, public experiments with LSD were held in La Honda, California by Ken Casey and his Merry Pranksters. LSD, incidentally, was still legal at the time. Still, anybody who calls themselves the Merry Pranksters should be checked out by the police. That was on this date in 1965. Well, for more of Today in History, let's go to the Associated Press.
November 27th, 1978. In San Francisco, Mayor George Moscone and City Supervisor Harvey Milk, a gay rights activist, are shot to death at City Hall. Former City Supervisor Dan White, who pulled the trigger, goes on trial for murder, but he's convicted of voluntary manslaughter. In what's dubbed the Twinkie defense, White's attorneys argue their client's junk food habits impaired his judgment. 1973. In Washington, the U.S. Senate confirms Gerald Ford as Richard Nixon's vice president. Ford succeeds Spiro Agnew, who had resigned amid accusations that he took bribes. The following year, Ford becomes president after the Watergate scandal forces Nixon from office. 2005. Doctors in France performed the world's first partial face transplant on a woman disfigured by a dog bite during a 15-hour operation. And 1953. Playwright Eugene O'Neill, who wrote Long Day's Journey into Night and The Iceman Cometh, dies in Boston. He was 65. Today in History, November 27th. Mike Gracia, The Associated Press.
This is Across Our Wide Missouri with Bob Critty.
Don Manuel Perez was not yet 60, but his health had gone bad in the 5 years he was lieutenant governor of the territory that later would be Missouri. Perez was, like many of his predecessors, popular with the citizens of the area. In fact, even many Americans liked him. He had helped George Morgan set up the American community of New Madrid. He also had an unusual way of keeping down Indian trouble. He was the last Spanish-born official to command the port of St. Louis, and thus command Missouri. We'll tell his story in a minute.
When a fire engine, ambulance, or other emergency vehicle approaches you with flashing lights and sirens, you may not always know who we are responding to help, but you can be sure that time is of the essence. Emergency services personnel rely on you every day to help them to respond quickly and safely to 911 calls. By taking a few moments to think slow when an emergency vehicle approaches you, you can help us to help others. When you see flashing lights and hear sirens, stay calm and make calculated, safe decisions. Look around to determine what is the safest route to take to yield the right of way. Move over after signaling your intentions. Finally, wait and check to ensure that it is safe for you to re-enter the roadway. By thinking slow the next time an emergency vehicle approaches you, you can play a big part in helping us to help the community quickly and safely. By thinking slow the next time an emergency vehicle approaches you, you can play a big part in helping us to help the community quickly and safely.
Spain had taken control of this area in 1770 under a treaty with France. The fourth Spanish lieutenant governor of Upper Louisiana was Manuel Perez, who was 52 when he took over from Francisco Cruzat. The post at the time was known as San Luis de Illinois. Perez was born in Zamora, Spain in 1735. He went into the army at the age of 18, and about 16 years later he was sent to Louisiana. Ultimately, he spent about 39 years in the Spanish army. In 1773, he was involved in the siege and the capture of British forts along the Mississippi as the Spanish government expanded its influence in the West. He was with Galvez on one of his expeditions against the British at Mobile and Pensacola in 1783. Perez was in a serious position when he succeeded Francisco de Leyva, a man so well received in St. Louis by the citizens that he served 2 terms as lieutenant governor. George Morgan might have had a more difficult time gaining Spanish approval to set up his colony for Americans at New Madrid if it hadn't been for Perez. The colony didn't work out well because of Spanish interference from New Orleans, but that's not the fault of Perez. Perez believed in St. Louis being better fortified. It had been only about 7 years earlier, 7 years after the British and the Indians had tangled with the Spanish in the Revolutionary War Battle of St. Louis. But in the years since, the fortifications had deteriorated to a point where they were of little use. He wanted some fortifications, noting that wood stockades didn't hold up well in Missouri's damp soil. In a letter that he sent to Governor General Esteban Miro in New Orleans, Perez wrote that wood in Missouri decays in 4 or 5 years. He said cedar would be the best type of wood to use if wood had to be used, but cedar wasn't readily available. On that account, he wrote, it would be better to build it of stone, for this is the work that will last through an infinity of time, and I do not believe its costs excessive. He asked the Treasury for 7,000 to 8,000 pesos to finance the needed repairs. Miro later approved the repairs to be made as recommended by Perez. Perez also advocated fortifying the Des Moines River and San Pedro rivers, but the Spanish government didn't see it his way. A rebuilding of the church at St. Louis had been recommended by some Spanish authorities, but he wrote Miro in 1797, I must inform your lordship that in regard to rebuilding the church, the habitants do not refuse to do it. The majority of them, however, are not at present in condition to contribute as they would like because of their poverty. He said the church would stand for a while longer, and indeed it did. During the last 5 years he was in St. Louis, he invited many Delaware and Shawnee Indians to settle in southeast Missouri. He felt those tribes could act as a buffer with the troublesome Osages. For one thing, the Osages might be more interested in fighting the Delaware and the Shawnee tribes than disrupting white communities and mining efforts. 6 years after he arrived in St. Louis, he left. By then he was in his late 50s, and his health had declined in his years on the Spanish-American frontier. When he left St. Louis in 1792, he asked for a government pension as a lieutenant colonel, claiming his health had gone bad during his time commanding the settlements of the western part of Illinois. He eventually got the pension that he sought, and he retired to become a prominent citizen and civilian resident of New Orleans. He died there at the age of 79 in 1814. Don Manuel Perez, the last Spanish native governor of Spanish Missouri, took office in St. Louis on this date, November 27, 1786.
This episode of First Cup is brought to you by Wishing Stars Native Creations, Fine Art Today, and Marshall Woodworking. Check out these companies and many more by going to the Friends page at tinyurl.com/Gunther's House or tinyurl.com/Gunther Mobile.
What kind of a Thanksgiving dinner is this? Where's the turkey, Chuck? Don't you know anything about Thanksgiving dinners? Where's the mashed potatoes? Where's the cranberry sauce? Where's the pumpkin pie?
Boy, there is just no pleasing some people, is there? Peppermint Patty, my friends. Welcome back to Studio 27 on this Wednesday morning, the 27th day of November, as we get ready for Thanksgiving. And, of course, with the turkey being prepared and so forth, one of the things not to do is to deep fry your turkey when the turkey is still frozen. Okay, to illustrate that point, we have William Shatner, of all people, with a simple and effective reminder.
I once loved this piece of metal, but our relationship ended suddenly. It started as a hunger. I want a moister, tastier turkey. I want a deep-fried turkey. Back then, everyone was doing it. Turkey fryers flew off the shelves left and right. When I laid my hands on that fryer, I didn't want to let go. Pop. Thermometer. Dingle dangle? Uh-huh. Okay. Hot oil, wet frozen turkey, pushed together makes steam. Pushing the hot oil over the top and igniting on the open flame. Don't do that. I learned a great deal, but I was young and arrogant. Blinded by my hunger, I ignored safety. Spat in the face of science. Turn off the flame. Damn it, Bill, that's too much oil. Where's the dingle dangle? Oh, my goodness. What have I done? Oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh, look at this. Oh, that is so stupid. I loved you, but you only brought me pain. That fryer took so much from me. Mostly arm hair, little skin. But it gave me a healthy fear. Fire, metal, oil, and turkey are glorious when in harmony.
Turkey fryer. I always wanted to try that.
But their power is unrelenting in careless hands.
And it even has the dingle dangle.
You know, if he had just used the dingle dangle, he probably wouldn't have been as severely injured. But be careful with those fried turkeys, okay? Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I prefer it cooked in the traditional way, based it in an oven. But to each is their own. To each is their own. All right. Well, I'm breaking a promise. I was going to play NPR News, but as luck would have it, I do have the CBS World News Roundup, and I'll have that for you in just a few moments, as well as market information. Right now, though, I'm going to break some myths, because I like to break myths around here. And so, need a little bit of background noise here, by the way. So let me start this back up. All right, yeah, that's a little better. That's comforting to me. Maybe annoying to you, but it's comforting to me. And this is my show, all right? So, here are some 5 myths about the Pilgrims, okay? Number 1, Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. If you visit Plymouth today, you'll find a distinctive rock about the size of your living room sofa embedded in the sandy beach, sheltered by the classical Greek portico and labeled with a sign erected by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts proclaiming Plymouth Rock landing place of the Pilgrims.